Started the meeting of the Code Top Members 2025. So welcome everybody to today's webinar. My name is Gabriela Kuhn. I'm Head of Program on Child Protection in Travel and Tourism at ECPAT International, and I'll be your host today. We are thrilled to have you join us. This webinar is organized with the top members of the Code 2025, as well as with its members, civil society organizations, and we have participations of tourists, of tourism schools, and key stakeholders. We are organizing this meeting as a networking platform that is convening leaders who are setting the standards for sustainable tourism with child protection at its core. So before we start, I just have a few quick housekeeping notes. So this session is being recorded, and we'll share the recording with everybody and the slides. Also, interpretation is available. So please choose your channel, English or Spanish. Tenemos la interpretación y pueden elegir el canal. We encourage everybody to use the chat. If you'd like to ask any questions, we'll be collecting them. There will be an opportunity also to ask questions after each panel. And at the end, we will have a dedicated Q&A session where we'll address all the questions after all the panels and presentations. So with that, let's get started, and let me hand over to Guillaume Landry, Executive Director of ECPAT International, and to Chantal Query, who is a Chief Culture Officer of the Bicester Collection, Village Shopping Collection, and she's a Supervisory Board member of ECPAT International as well, and a member of the Child Protection Working Group that it's run with the World Travel and Tourism Council. So first, over to you, Guillaume.
Thank you, Gabriela. And very exciting. This is a special moment to have the privilege to interact with some of the groundbreakers, the trailblazer, the leader in the private sector in the area of travel and tourism, who dare to commit and find that child protection is an important matter, that all the conversation about the expansion of travel and tourism, the business model, the sustainability agenda are all interconnected with child protection. There cannot be development and sustainability in travel and tourism without taking care that this is done with and for the children being taken into account in the model. So in that sense, the code is a long-standing contribution that ECPAT International has been leading for several decades, that brings together today over 340 different companies from really across the world in travel and tourism that decide it's a commitment, it's a voluntary commitment to make this a feature of how they see their business. And it's a privilege to have been working with many outstanding companies. And among them this year, we're very proud to shed light on 25 of them being top members in among those leaders in the sectors. And today is an occasion to learn more about the way they incarnate that leadership in child protection in travel and tourism. So wonderful to have you, and let's get to the business talk there. So I'll transfer it to the wonderful Chantal now. Thank you.
Thank you, Guillaume, and good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to everyone. I'm absolutely honored to be part of this discussion because you are trailblazer, and I'm excited to learn more from you as well. But because as well, it goes right to the heart of something I deeply believe in, that no child anywhere should ever have their future stolen by violence or exploitation. So as Gabriela mentioned, I work for the Bicester Collection, and for 30 years, we have been developing 12 luxury shopping destinations around the world, welcoming 50 million guests. And that's a privilege in itself. but also a responsibility. And through our philanthropic program, Do Good, we are committed to really unlocking the future of children worldwide in alignment with the UN Sustainable Development Goal. And as part of this Do Good program, we've launched a key initiative called Unlock Futures, really a global movement to protect children. And this initiative was born from a journey that began about 20 months ago, where I had the privilege of representing the private sector at the United Nations. And I met an incredible woman who I think many of you would know, Dr. Najat Malamjid, who is the UN Special Representative on Violence Against Children. And her passion, her leadership inspired us all to act now. And this is how I came to know ECPAT, Guillaume, and the incredible work that the network is doing. And together with ECPAT, WTTC, Accor, CWT, the UK Border Force, we formed a working group with that one clear goal to ensure that travel, tourism, and entertainment are safe spaces for children. This is not, as you all know, a challenge for government and NGOs alone. It's really a shared responsibility. And through the Unlock Futures movement, we are trying to mobilize the private sector to make child protection a non-negotiable standard. So today's event is so much more because we're celebrating you, the top members of the code, your leaders, and really setting the way and showing that child protection is not a side initiative, but it's really central pillar for sustainable tourism. So really, Guillaume, you said it earlier on that there cannot be sustainability without child protection. And you all are proving this and making it core to your businesses. So I'm very much looking forward to the panel. What each one of you is doing is truly inspiring, and it shows us that change is possible and that progress is happening. Later in the session, my colleague Alberto Bartoli will share more about how we can take these examples, the work that you're doing, even further through the global action that we want to be doing at the WTTC Global Summit in Rome. It's a gathering of the leader of tourism, and we have an opportunity to really engage with them and rally them around the work that everyone is doing. And later this year, as Alberto, my colleague, will explain, we're aiming to launch an action paper to really solidify everything that is happening. But for now, really today is from learning from each other and for me, from all of you, and celebrating your leadership. So thank you so much for setting the standards. And I'm going to hand over back to you, Gabriela. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Chantal, and for this positive start of this discussion, because indeed we want to show good practice and that it's possible to make a change. So we have two panels today. Our first panel will bring, both panels, they are bringing together representatives of the companies that all show that they have a critical role in preventing sexual exploitation of children. In the first panel, I will invite María José Martínez, who is Jefe de Calidad de Recursos Humanos at Bespoke Colombia, and Alma Lidia Tesios Marcelino, who is Director of America Corporate Social Responsibility at Riu Hotels and Resorts, to speak about what tourism and sustainable transformation means to companies, members of the code. So over to you first, Maria. Yeah, and we will show the first slide. María, are you with us?
Hola, buenos días a todos.
Buenos días, María.
¿Me escuchan?
Sí, escuchamos bien.
Hola, buenos días, ¿me escuchan? Ok. Bueno, mi nombre es María José Martínez Redondo. Yo pues soy la jefe de recursos humanos y procesos en la empresa Bespoke Colombia. Nuestra empresa tiene más de 20 años de trayectoria. Estamos ubicados principalmente en Cartagena, una de las ciudades más famosas del país, costeras, donde lastimosamente el turismo sexual es muy presente. Por eso, nosotros hemos tenido este apoyo con Decode, hemos buscado las herramientas para estar con ustedes y poner, digamos, nuestra huella, hacer algo por el turismo en Cartagena. Recientemente abrimos un hotel en Monpós, que es un pueblo cerca de Cartagena, un pueblo que está en crecimiento turístico, que muchos turistas están conociéndolo, pero lastimosamente no tienen como las herramientas para frenar todo lo que conlleva el SNAP. Por eso para nosotros, y respondiendo a la pregunta que nos hicieron, podemos decir que para nosotros, ¿qué significa el turismo y transformación sostenible para las empresas que son miembros de DECO? Y nosotros lo vamos a dividir en 8 puntos. El primer punto y el más importante es el compromiso. Nosotros debemos tener un compromiso para cumplir que estos niños no se van expuestos a estas situaciones, donde haya cero tolerancia frente a la explotación sexual. El segundo es crear políticas, cláusulas y reglamentos. Desde nuestra empresa, nosotros lo que hemos realizado es desde, por ejemplo, desde la contratación, tener presente en los contratos todo lo que va en contra del ESNA, crear políticas para la prevención, reglamentos y guías para que nuestros trabajadores sepan cómo actuar frente a estas situaciones. Luego, capacitando a nuestro personal, no solamente a nuestro personal, porque para poder hacer una huella más grande tenemos que transformar, buscar una formación continua de nuestros trabajadores, nuestros proveedores y otras agencias que hacen parte del turismo que de alguna u otra forma se relacionan con nuestros hoteles, escuelas, agencias, bares, restaurantes y demás. Protocolos. Ya, digamos, teniendo el compromiso, políticas y capacitación del personal, hay que tener protocolos claros. En nuestros hoteles, nosotros hemos hecho en diferentes situaciones simulacros de cómo actuar frente a diversos casos. Por ejemplo, si llega un huésped con un menor y no es miembro de su familia, entonces, ¿cómo actuar para saber si de pronto viene con buenas o malas intenciones? ¿Qué pasa si uno ve una situación, si haces parte también del delito o no, al no reportarlo o no? Y prevención. Hacemos actividades lúdicas, que sean entretenidas, películas, charlas, muchas actividades para que los trabajadores entiendan no solamente desde la teoría, sino también en la práctica, de una forma más didáctica, entender la importancia y cómo podemos nosotros transformar. Y la participación. Involucramos a nuestros huéspedes, a nuestros proveedores, a otras agencias por fuera consiguiendo alianzas con entidades y redes de protección, que en este caso para nosotros la más fundamental pues ha sido pues el Renacer, Decode y demás. Y lo más importante que, digamos, todo esto nos trae y que hace que el hotel sea sostenible es que nos permite a nosotros tener una reputación. Y digamos que realmente estamos muy agradecidos de que nos hayan tenido en cuenta, la verdad, nosotros hemos trabajado muchos años tratando de transformar, tratando de participar en estos espacios, pero realmente no nos esperábamos este reconocimiento y realmente estamos muy agradecidos por eso. Fue una sorpresa y más representar a Colombia, o sea, súper importante para nosotros, desde una compañía pequeña, porque pues realmente nosotros no somos una cadena hotelera nacional, somos una marca independiente, pequeña, tenemos 3 hoteles, boutique pequeños, pero pues es realmente grato para nosotros sentir que estamos haciendo algo, que estamos transformando y que estamos siendo sostenibles. Muchas gracias.
Thank you so much, Maria. It's a great example how a smaller company can comprehensively approach this topic and really turn it into actions. Thank you so much for sharing that. I will now turn to Alma Lydia from Rio Hotels and Resorts. For change, this is a big chain. So thank you for sharing with us, Alma, your experiences. You can share your screen now.
Claro, comparto. Solo me confirman si ya pueden verla, por favor.
Sí, por el momento no lo vemos.
Ahora,
Sí, ahora
ahora
sí,
sí,
que
¿verdad?
vemos. Gracias.
Qué bien, perfecto. Bueno, pues nada más, gracias Gabriela, gracias Danuta, Guión, un placer verlos de nuevo a todos. Bueno, algunos a ponerles cara por primera vez. Gracias también por permitirnos exponer brevemente cómo entendemos en Riu que podemos hacer al turismo sostenible, ¿no? Desde una perspectiva integral y cómo conectamos lo ambiental con lo social y en particular con la protección de la niñez frente a la explotación sexual comercial, ¿no? Es decir, cómo incluimos a la infancia y el compromiso que tenemos de Decode de forma integral y transversal en nuestra estrategia global de sostenibilidad, ¿no? Y que por supuesto ya damos por entendido que va incluso a hacer mucho o un poco más de lo derivado de la misma adhesión a los criterios que ya tenemos con Decode, ¿no? Pero ¿qué significa, no? Y cómo es que justamente lo tenemos. Bueno, pues nosotros brevemente aquí les muestro cómo nosotros tenemos establecidas nuestra estrategia, ¿no? De sostenibilidad global a través de toda la cadena, es decir, para lo más de 100 hoteles alrededor del mundo. Tenemos tres ejes generales. Las personas RIU están en el corazón rojo que ven ahí en el centro. El eje ligado a la transparencia, que muchos podrían llamar de gobernanza, y ligada a cómo actuamos de manera responsable, transparente y ética en todas nuestras operaciones, pero no me voy a detener en ello, ¿no? Me voy a detener en el centro de color acuarela que está ahí, en donde menciono yo los destinos sostenibles. Es decir, creemos, como ya decía Chantal también hace un momento, que la responsabilidad compartida para nosotros es cuidar los destinos donde operamos, generar prosperidad en las comunidades y sobre todo garantizar que la niñez crezca en entornos seguros y protectores bajo el paraguas de nuestro programa específicamente de inversión social. Y ahora también me explico muy brevemente. Nuestra estrategia de inversión social tiene tres prioridades, ¿no? Que es la comunidad local, la biodiversidad y la infancia, específicamente a través de programas de salud infantil, educación y medio ambiente. Pero estas áreas son esenciales porque permiten fortalecer las capacidades locales y promover un desarrollo sano de la infancia en las comunidades de todos los destinos, ¿vale? En donde estamos operando. Dicho de otra manera, el foco, y por eso lo pongo aquí, el foco lo ponemos en la infancia y a mitigar los impactos negativos de la industria turística que los afecta. Por eso hablamos de que el 71% de los 4.5 millones de euros que nosotros invertimos en programas de inversión social, que así llamamos, están destinados a la infancia y que el 24% es para la educación y la protección y procuración de los derechos de la infancia, ¿vale? Eso es como que a grosso modo. Y ahora, digo, ya sabemos que somos top members y somos reconocidos al menos en dos países. Estamos adheridos, les decía yo, desde 2002 en España y en México recientemente también nos sentimos muy orgullosos de que finalmente nos dieron el reconocimiento como top members también para Río en México. Pero voy a obviar esta gráfica porque en realidad solamente se vislumbra ahí lo que yo estaba comentando hace un momento de cómo hacemos esta inversión, ¿no? Y me voy a ir ya a los datos duros que decimos nosotros. Aquí se ve a lo que quería llegar. Nosotros hemos implantado más de 100 actuaciones vinculándonos con programas locales y renovando convenios de manera sostenida con 88 aliados estratégicos alrededor del mundo. No se trata de una asistencia aislada y eso yo creo que es bastante importante para nosotros. Es decir, no tienes este dinero, no tienes este donativo y ya me voy, no te vuelvo a ver, no, para nada. O sea, lo que nosotros hacemos son programas que perduran al menos durante 3 años de que dura la alianza con esta entidad. ¿Vale? Y eso nos ha ayudado a beneficiar a más de 55,000 usuarios directos, en su mayoría niñas, niños y adolescentes, hablando del volumen que ya mencionaba anteriormente. Por eso hablamos de ese seguimiento constante. Y para ponerles un ejemplo y que se vea plasmado lo que quiero decir, son solamente unos ejemplos de esas más de 100 actuaciones que tenemos, ¿vale? Nosotros tenemos proyectos alrededor del mundo. Por ejemplo, no los voy a enumerar porque me llevaría mucho tiempo, pero tenemos programas alrededor relacionados a la generación de espacios o entornos protectores frente a la ESNA como tal, porque muchos de ellos cumplen funciones claves de prevención a través del juego, de la educación, del fortalecimiento de habilidades socioemocionales, de vigilancia, acompañamiento comunitario para profesores, padres, cuidadores, generando así una cultura de cuidado y protección compartida. Y por eso es que muchos de estos proyectos tienen ambos iconos que ustedes ven ahí en la parte inferior derecha, ¿no? En donde incluimos el cuidado y la protección, porque reforzamos programas educativos. Además de esto, si ustedes me dicen que tienen que ver las habilidades de lectura, por ejemplo, y fortalecer habilidades matemáticas en estos programas. Bueno, porque no son menos importantes porque con eso nosotros evitamos o reducimos significativamente el rezago o la deserción escolar y ambos sabemos que son factores ligados muy de la mano, ¿verdad? Son factores de riesgo para este tema con el cual estamos todos reunidos, que es contra la trata, bueno, y contra la explotación sexual comercial de los niños, niñas y adolescentes, ¿no? Niños que saben leer, niños que saben escribir en algunos entornos se vuelve fundamental para que los niños y niñas puedan comunicarse y defender sus derechos. Y bueno, no menos importante que muchos de los proyectos educativos son comunidades cercanas a nuestros hoteles que precisamente mejoran la calidad de vida y crean estos entornos protectores, ¿no? Donde la niñez puede desarrollarse libre de violencia. Y ya por último, de verdad, nada más hacer esta pequeña reflexión que creo que lo hemos dicho más de una vez cada vez que nosotros tenemos un espacio. Y es que nosotros en RIU creemos que que no podemos hablar de turismo responsable si dejamos de fuera lo que es la protección de la infancia. O dicho de otra manera, que la transformación sostenible, que el punto de foco de este turismo, la transformación sostenible del turismo no puede darse sin la protección de la niñez y la inversión social, diríamos nosotros, ¿no? En las comunidades y ese es nuestro compromiso como empresa y como miembro activo de DECO. Y hasta ahí mi participación. Gracias.
Muchas gracias, Alma. And it's so good to hear about the work you're doing with local communities to create protective environments. And also good to recognize here that both of your companies are partnering with local code representatives. So you are working closely with ECPAT Mexico, who is here with us in this event, and Maria and Bespoke Colombia working with Fundación Renacer. So this is also great to see the examples how they work with the local code representatives and civil society organizations is bringing that change. Thank you so much for your presentation. Thank you for if you could stop sharing your screen now. Thank you so much. And
claro, perdona. A ver.
And I have a great pleasure to invite now Natalie Volin. Okay, great.
Perdón, no encuentro, dijeras tú, Gabriela, no encuentro el botón para dejar.
It's good now. Thank you so much. And I have a great pleasure now to invite Nathalie Volin-Ler, who is Head of Government and Community Affairs at Carson. And Nathalie will bring us a little bit different perspective on how companies across sectors can support child protection measures. So over to you, Nathalie.
Thank you so much. So if you want to maybe go to the next slide, I'm coming at it from a different perspective, like Gabriela noted, about how we used to be one of the largest travel and hospitality companies in the world. And as we've shifted, I see a hand raised, how we've shifted into a company outside of the industry, how we've continued our commitment in this space. And so just a little bit of background, we were the first North American company, travel and hospitality company to sign ECPAT's code to protect children. We also co-founded the World Childhood Foundation in 1999, which has a mission to prevent the abuse and sexual exploitation of children around the globe. And if you want to go to the next slide, we continued some of our most recent initiatives. We continued in sort of the business travel space. We also funded a 2-year ECPAT International study on the sexual exploitation of travel and tourism. We funded and assisted ECPAT USA, now PACT, in the creation of a free anti-trafficking training for TMCs and meeting and events companies. And to date, over 7,800 trainings have been completed. We also funded and assisted World Childhood Brazil in the development of a business travel specific awareness campaign, and also did internal and external awareness campaigns with employees and clients. And so if you want to go to the next slide. So although we now have different focus areas with our portfolio companies, we continue to be very strongly involved with the issue. And there's several nonprofits, which I hope you all are familiar with, that focus on providing opportunities outside of the sector for like philanthropic support, employee trainings, corporate leadership board service, which was really a priority for us, is to have our CEOs and ELT members on organizations that we fund, and we still have those. Survivor empowerment and employment. This is something that's important to us that GBCAT, the Global Business Coalition Against Trafficking, has provided guides and around for companies to do. And I think it should be a priority for all of us insofar as we can do it. Also, awareness raising, policy engagement, and supplier engagement. And GBCAT and BEST really have companies around the sector. And BEST, for example, they do trainings for companies irrespective of sector, including like credit unions and REITs, etc. So there's lots of great organizations out there. So we continue to support many initiatives that are outside the travel and tourism industry, and two of our key focus areas are on trafficking and technology and the fight against the sexual exploitation of boys. So if you want to go to the next slide. I know that there's, sometimes, I don't know if I would push and pull is the right word, but I think there can be complications with respect to the tech industry and the sexual exploitation and trafficking of children. But there are great organizations out there like Tech Against Trafficking, which is a global coalition of tech companies that collaborate with global experts to help eradicate human trafficking using technology, and they partner with nonprofits. Their key work streams are addressing the misuse of online platforms, mapping the landscape of anti-trafficking tech tools, and accelerate and scale tech solutions for nonprofits. So they're really partnering to help address the problems that they know that can be facilitated on their platforms. And you can see these are big companies. I've been to every conference, the Tech Against Trafficking conference, and they're extremely committed. They're doing everything they can. Amazon hosted it last year. Microsoft is hosting it this year. I know there's an organization here that we hope will be coming, but that is just one entity that we participate in and fund. That is very important to us. And again, it's outside of the travel and tourism industry, but it's something that's important that is connected to it. And I think it's important for everybody to maybe look a little bit broader as well. Then the next slide. Another thing that's been extremely important to us is ACPAT International, and it's another space where companies can help support the effort regardless of your sector, and where tech companies can help. It's the Global Boys Initiative, which is something we have supported since 2021. It was extremely important, this issue, to our board chair. And I hope that most of you know about it, but maybe you don't. But it's a initiative around the research, awareness, raising advocacy, and private sector engagement to end the sexual exploitation of boys. There's been a summit, research and case studies, the development of a global alliance. They've embarked on this really important online gaming sector engagement initiative. So again, that's sector specific in one line, but this is again a initiative that isn't limited to one sector. And they've had just really, really impactful conferences and workshops. And as you can see, we've provided a significant amount of support, and that again is not sector specific, and it's about bringing interested companies into this and really helping guide them on how they can work on this. So we were really proud to support all of these, to support our initiatives when we were in the travel and tourism industry. We're really proud to continue our support, and we're really, really happy to see all of these other companies come into this issue that aren't in the travel and tourism industry. So I want to thank you for everything that you've all done and continue to do. I want to thank ACPAT or PACT and ACPAT International for the amazing work that you're doing in both the travel and tourism industry and outside of it. And with that, I'll conclude.
Thanks so much, Natalie. And this greatly shows how in this space we can work with various companies that have also a broader approach. And what you mentioned, the continuity of online and offline exploitation, that's important to be addressed by the travel and tourism companies because the exploitation happens in all these environments and cannot be divided and just talking about exploitation offline besides and not thinking about online spaces. And for the Global Voice Initiative, we shared a link to where you can find more information. And in fact, we are very grateful that you are working with us on this topic, as it's so important to remember about boys who are also exploited, and it's not only girls. So this is really a breakthrough initiative, and the Global Manifesto was recently launched. And we also invite all the other companies to look at this aspect of gender and protection of boys in their work. So
thank you. And just sorry, one more thing.
Yeah,
but there
please
is
go
that
ahead.
cross. Yeah, that cross with the Boys Initiative and travel and tourism is definitely there. And I just want to really state how much Guillaume and Francesco have been working on this in such an impressive way that has had a huge impact in the industry and how many industry players are wanting to get involved. So thank you for your work on that.
And it's also bringing on board other industries like gaming industries
Yeah.
or finance industries. So
Yes.
that's all interconnected, and we all need to work together on that. Thanks so much, Natalie. I will now open to just a few questions, if there are any specific questions for the three panelists that we just had. Maria from Bespoke Colombia, Alma from Rio Hotels and Resorts, and Natalie representing Carson. If there are any questions in the chat, we can take them. We can take them now. If not, everybody can share their questions in the chat, and we can answer them at the end of the webinar. Yeah, I don't see now any questions, so yeah, please put your questions in the chat, and we'll be answering at the end. So I have a great pleasure now to invite other panelists to the panel on how to protect children in travel and tourism, where we'll be hearing practical examples from the top members of the code. So first, let me invite Sherry Lynn Angala from Associated Luxury Hotels International from the USA. And she will be sharing on how they are working with travelers and communicating about child protection. After that, we'll have in this panel Durante Blas Bille, who is a Seminole tribal member from Hard Rock International in the USA, and Mercedes Foster, who is in charge of the projects and representing the Association of the Hotels La Romana by HIBE and Cluster Turístico de la Romana from the Dominican Republic. So over to you, Sherry Lynn.
Thank you, Gabriela. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. I am so honored to represent Associated Luxury Hotels International. We are better known as ALHI in the travel and tourism industry, and we are a global sales marketing organization that represents over 250 of the finest luxury hotels, cruise lines, and destination management companies globally. And since 2021, ALHI has been working very closely to PACT on their mission to end child human trafficking. And so we've been asked to share practical examples and encourage. I know there's a lot of members and top members here as well on the call, so feel free to share your best practices. on the chat. I would love to shamelessly also know what you guys are doing. But I can tell you there really isn't any secret sauce of what we do. But what we can really tell you guys is that we're really good with consistency in our organization, the perseverance that we do with our members and our clients, and truly the passion that we have across all the divisions that you see here with ALHI, with our members, our clients, and our traveling community. So apart from what we do from an internal, I am in HR, so we do definitely our annual trainings, and that's really just to help us empower our employees to speak confidently about child protection, so they can be that broader voice for our efforts here. But apart from that, our website, we partner, have a lot of impact partners, and in our website provide the tools needing for any travelers that we have and we come across. And then on the next page, again, what we have done is curated buckets of best practices that we've done. And you can see here, our first one on the left, we call them events as education. And ALHI has over 75 events that we do annually that's ranging from 15 to 300 attendees. Now, these executive events that we do have decision makers within their organizations. So this brings out a wider fishnet, and we communicate and offer deeper education on this content. So then in turn allows them to communicate to their organization and cascade our mission on a much broader scale. This also allows us to provide financial support, and ALHI has raised over hundreds and thousands of dollars for this effort. One of the things from a communication tactics during these events is that, and I hope that you can see it, but we provide pins and we wear them confidently. These are discussions of what does this mean to end human trafficking? And there's QR codes that allows us to speak confidently, deliver the message while we have our platforms during these events. And like in any event that we have our gift giving, and we partner with an organization called the Aruna Project. And I hope, and I don't want to feel so clunky, but it's just so impactful of what Natalie mentioned about the survivors of empowerment and employment. Something that's really important for us is that is sustaining our survivors to be out, of that human trafficking. And we actually have a partner with the Aruna Project, where 100 of the proceeds go to prevention of child trafficking, but there's also names of victims inside. So it really is truly impactful. And survivors are the ones that make these products. So delivering that message is something is so important to us, and educating them and raising awareness. The second one that we do is our campaigns and awareness. And so one of the things that we love to leverage is our team. And kudos to Charisse at PACT, Haley and Yvonne, who has helped this. We did something really great this year, and we call it Pacing for PACT. During the month, Human Trafficking Awareness Month, we launched a virtual run walk. One thing about ALHI, 80% of our employees are remote. We have employees from Hawaii to the UK and Spain. And what we did was we activated a 3-day social media campaign to amplify awareness globally and raise funds. Another thing that we also do was really simple, but effective. It's a simple yet powerful tool, is bookmarkers. And these include hotel information that hotels can definitely provide in their rooms, in their libraries that they could do, where one side just talks a little bit about their hotel, but on the flip side that you could share PACT fact or information about child trafficking, so that again they can communicate and relate to them. And then the next one, and lastly, again, we are a global marketing and hotelier organization. So our fearless leader, Mike Dominguez, we have a podcast that is called Beyond the Meeting Room that touches over thousands and thousands of folks from a social media perspective. And we've invited folks like CEO Laurie Cohen and victims such as Faith Robles to talk about their story and impact, that and educating us about sex trafficking and prevention. Social media, where we have, where we tell our stories. And believe it or not, I think it's so nostalgic, but magazines are definitely coming back. We have our Beyond magazine that we also publicize. One thing as well that we also do is the technology, and we promote the technology piece of it. And it's called Traffic Cam, if you have not heard of Traffic Cam, but download it. It is free. What basically that is you take pictures of hotel rooms and it goes to a larger database. So it allows us, if there is victims in a hotel room, this app is able to recognize based on the footage of hotel rooms where exactly and pinpoint where exactly these activities are occurring. So those are kind of our top 3 that we curated. What makes it work? It's consistency and the messaging that we have across all of our platforms. It really is empowering our travelers with tools and not just information, but really creating that culture of responsibility, not within our organization, but our partners, our community, our members, and our clients, and not make it as a compliance, but more of a responsibility for us.
So, such an array of rich examples, and I'm already looking forward to listening to the podcast. I think it's very inspiring, such a great examples, and exactly as you said, like the approach that empowers and passes the message, not only raises the awareness, but changes the attitudes and builds that culture. So these are amazing examples. Thank you so much for sharing, and I will also follow you in inviting participants. Please share your good practices. You can share the links in the chat from the companies. There are many companies, members of the code, who are with us today. So please share these great examples with everybody. And with this, I will now hand over to Durante Blaisbilde from Hard Rock International. And over to you, Durante.
Hello, everybody. I'm going to speak a bit slower so everyone with the translation on gets a chance to, in real time, catch up and react to the things that I'm sharing. My name's Durante Blaisbilde. Significantly, I'm a member of the Seminole Tribe of Florida. So I am an Indigenous person, grew up in the community. That's where my motivations, my roots are. And something really unique about Hard Rock and Seminole Gaming is that we are a tribal-owned operation. So that means all of our motivations, initiatives are coming from that tribal community council. And so this offers a really unique perspective when it comes to human trafficking prevention and the prioritization of anti-human trafficking work. As you may or may not know, human trafficking is a huge crisis historically for Indigenous communities across North America, across South America, across, I guess, the global continents in which Indigenous communities exist geopolitically. And it's also a hugely neglected population when it comes to anti-trafficking campaigns, due to a lot of the limitations and barriers around data for Indigenous peoples, around jurisdiction on Indigenous lands. And so some of the things I'm going to share today, I'll start off with our general operations and programming that goes to address all human trafficking, as Hard Rock operates in over 70 countries. We have over 250 locations. But then I'd like to end on sort of that grassroots motivation behind trying to adapt the things we're learning from being in this sector and working with great people like PACT to try to help our home communities, which are suffering from this crisis. So to begin, I'll just go over some of the amazing operations that have been going through. And key to everything we do is that it's survivor informed. You know, that means that we're really listening. Thank God for PACT in their Survivor Council, because some of the greatest things we've come up with is completely just adapting things survivors have been talking about for years and that survivors themselves have been developing. And so, of course, our first thing that we're going to go over is just our adaptation and our ability to stick to the code, which we're all familiar with. I think it's really important to just make sure that all of our vendors across sectors in tourism are familiar with just the baseline best practices, whether that's language and contracts, whether that's just awareness that this is a crisis that we need to be vocal about, even though it may make some people uncomfortable. Another thing is we have training across all of our different employee sectors. And really significant to that training is we have Melanie Thompson, who is a survivor counsel from PACT, leading that training, you know, talking about it. It's also, we have different trainings for just general annual trainings and then also refreshers. Let's say the Super Bowl is coming or F1 is coming. We want to make sure we have refreshers to deal with those huge events that impact the trafficking crisis, to make sure that we're also being reactive to the things that we know are happening and constantly in flux with the needs of the people we're trying to serve. A lot of the things we also do are really low operational cost to us. So it doesn't cost anything additional for us to integrate these really life-saving programs into what we're doing day to day. An example of that is the cell phone bank, which is just where we take all of our lost technological devices, donate them to the cell phone bank, the 911 cell phone bank, and then those are completely wiped clean and given to survivors in crisis situations so that they have reliable technology. And just so far, we've given over 2,000 devices to the cell phone bank that have been able to make their way, you know, to vulnerable populations that need that kind of technology. A huge portion of what we're doing for anti-human trafficking is prevention through public education. And so we partnered with PACT to develop the Social Identity Quest, which is just addressing, you know, how do we see the needs of the youth we're trying to serve, and how do we also become responsible in ways that maybe aren't traditionally done. So for that, it means looking to the cyber sector, you know, looking to online spaces. Online identity is really the issue that we're trying to address. And so the Social Identity Quest is an online tool for youth to use, which really helps them navigate, you know, safe choices, how to spot maybe dangers in an online space while also being youth informed, survivor informed, so that it's most relevant and impactful to people that are using the tool. Another thing is that we've integrated QR codes in our front of house that have been developed by survivor Svetlana Thompson through her organization 24/7. And that's just a QR code that has mindful language, which will resonate with people who are being exploited, tricked, or coerced. And it also creates real-time reports in over 34 languages that allow people to have a discrete way to document and access, you know, law enforcement in whatever location is relevant to that QR code. As Natalie was mentioning, and as the previous speakers were mentioning, we also want to go outside of the scope of just what is the sector for tourism, what is the sector for travel. And also we want to proactively integrate survivors back into the ways we can reach and manage this. And so a great thing that we've developed and we've been working with is Covenant House and Flight Center to get people who are aging out of the foster care system or people who have come out of the crisis of human trafficking and integrating them into our employment, whether it's through a cafe, whether it's through something corporate. You know, we have 2 of these main partnerships, but really the goal is to expand it to become, I guess, more relevant in all of the local communities that we're operating in. And so far, we've seen a lot of great just feedback from people involved in those programmings. And just really briefly, I'm sorry for the time, everybody, but I think something that's really important to remember and something that, again, bringing that Indigenous perspective is that we want to constantly be adapting the things we're doing. As we know, traffickers and people who are exploiting children are constantly changing their tactics. They're constantly changing the populations they're going after. And so we need to be very reactive to that. And so part of that is adapting the programming we've already done to be more relevant to the populations we see as keenly vulnerable to this crisis. For example, that means adapting the social identity quest to Indigenous populations. You know, that means being culturally informed so that it's relevant to the people we're trying to reach. You know, listening to feedback and being very conscious of having these tools not just be developed in corporate boardrooms or in Zoom meetings, but really developed with a two-way dialogue between the people we are trying to serve, the people who have been affected by this crisis, and to make sure that things are accessible to the people we want. You know, make sure youth can interact with these tools and feel like they've learned something or feel like they are empowered in a way to act differently. And so I think just ending with that, it's really important that, you know, when we talk about sustainable change in the tourism industry, it really is also just creating sustainably, you know, changing the ways people are interacting with children just across the board, across sectors, and making sure that everybody's truly internalizing the ways we can protect children, just regardless if you're a guest, if you're a vendor, if you're an operational person, or if you're just working front of house, you know, as a waiter. It's really changing in a sustainable way how we all look at this crisis. So thank you all.
Thanks so much, Durante, and thanks for mentioning the work with survivors. That's such a good example, and how you can hear from them. And that's again an example of working with the local code representative, a civil society organization here, this time with PACT, who is here with us as well. And thanks also for mentioning the need to adapt to changing trends. That's for the whole industry. Trends are changing. There's more and more tourism to local communities, and we need to adapt to it. And in all of that, hearing children and hearing the survivors. Thanks so much for your intervention, Durante. And I will now give a floor to Mercedes Foster from Asociación de Hoteles La Romana by Jaibe and Cluster Turístico La Romana by Jabe from the Dominican Republic.
Hola, buenos días. Un placer estar en este panel en nombre de la Asociación de Hoteles y el Clúster Turístico La Romana Valladolid desde República Dominicana. Mi parte del panel es hablar sobre la interacción con la comunidad. Para nosotros, proteger a los niños, niñas y adolescentes no es un trabajo solo de los hoteles. Debemos incluir a la comunidad local que vive y trabaja en el destino. Nuestro destino La Romana se encuentra en la parte este del país y comprende desde el río Soco, ubicado en San Pedro de Macorís, hasta Boca de Yuma, en la provincia de la Altagracia. En la próxima diapositiva les voy a compartir 3 prácticas que nos ha funcionado en la parte de la interacción con la comunidad desde el 2014, que fue cuando nosotros firmamos el acuerdo del Código de Conducta. La primera práctica es la capacitación conjunta. No solo formamos al personal de los hoteles, también nosotros formamos a los taxistas, a los guías y seguridad turística, a las excursiones, a las empresas de excursiones, perdón, a la prensa local y a pequeños comerciantes. Todos debemos estar atentos y saber cómo actuar ante una situación de riesgo. Nuestra segunda práctica son los espacios de diálogo. Nosotros creamos mesas de trabajo que involucran a las autoridades, a los hoteles y a los líderes comunitarios. Allí nosotros acordamos protocolos y reforzamos la confianza mutua. Y por último, pero no menos importante, están los programas con las escuelas. Nosotros impulsamos actividades educativas y culturales con los niños y jóvenes. También en la Asociación de Hoteles otorgamos becas de estudio en la carrera de turismo a jóvenes de escasos recursos que viven dentro de nuestro destino. Lo hacemos porque un niño con oportunidades y valores sólidos es un niño mejor protegido. Nuestra experiencia nos confirma que cuando la comunidad se siente parte del esfuerzo, la protección se vuelve más fuerte y sostenible. En resumen, podemos decir que la protección de la niñez en el turismo es un trabajo colectivo. Cada persona, cada sector puede marcar la diferencia. Muchísimas gracias.
That's wonderful, Mercedes, and the work that you are doing with the communities in the Dominican Republic. Thanks so much for sharing your experiences. And we have more. I see there's I see there are some comments in the chat. Good, the discussion is ongoing in the chat. If there are any questions, we'll be taking them on. But for now, as I don't see questions, I'd like to share with everybody that we have very impactful, amazing videos from a number of companies that responded to our invitation to share with us what tourism and sustainable transformation means to them. And in these videos, we will not be showing all of them. We have 10 very impactful, and I know that others maybe will be actually coming very soon, and we'll be using these good practices and the videos as our shared voice in the perspective of the World Tourism Day. I invite everybody to watch these videos. We have one from Asociación de Hoteles La Romana, from other countries that are not part of this webinar. We are doing another one tomorrow with the countries in the other time zone, like Coquille Bonheur, Mauritius, Dadamanga, Madagascar, their tour from Germany, and others on the next slide. And we invite everybody to watch these contributions because this really shows what can be done in practice and can be very inspirational to all the companies. There are also videos from Bespoke in Colombia, Hard Rock International, Imbach and Vogelreisen from Switzerland, Rio Group, Spain and Mexico, and RX Wellness from Thailand. But these videos take various examples of practical approaches, but they all have in common that there is a shared message between all these companies and the members of the code and top members of the code that beyond environmental care, everybody sees tourism as a driver of a social change with legal and moral duty to protect children from sexual exploitation, to build safe and resilient communities. So this transformation in tourism to all these companies, and this is a very strong voice that we can make a change together. It means not only protecting environment, but also protecting people and ensuring children are safe and communities are empowered. So thanks so much for these videos and that are on top of the contributions that you are doing today. And we would like now to move to some very exciting announcements on how we want to build a global movement to protect children in travel and tourism together with all of you. There is already so much done, but we want to continue working with all the members of the code. And this year, we'd like to join all our voices during the Global Summit that is upcoming of the World Travel and Tourism Council, but I will let now Alberto Bartoli to tell us more about it.
Thank you, Gabriela. Thank you all. It's been absolutely incredible and inspiring to hear all your stories and all your actions and how you implement a successful la lucha for to make sure that there is no violence against children. So, as Gabriela mentioned, the Bicep Collection is very much committed in really taking this movements of Unlock Future to a very different stage. We really want to have a global movement that will inspire leaders to really take action. So we are actually pleased that together with the WTTC, the United Nations, and ECPAT, we will have very important moments during the summit in Rome, starting on the 27th of September, so very around the corner. And we have agreed with the WTTC and with the ENIT, with the Italian National Tourism Bureau, specific moment on stage or also in a different petit comité to make sure that we can address the audience and really create this movement. The idea is collectively to have an action paper that we will be published in Q1 in 2026. There will be like a call to action and a memorandum for all the leaders in the travel and trade and tourism industry, a memorandum on how to apply best practices also from you all. So we will learn also your best practices in order to make sure that we will put everything together and have a very simple list of things that leaders in their field can implement to make sure that we do have a positive impact and child and event against children or trafficking. So we have prepared just logistically, we have prepared a statement that will be sent out by the WTTC when they will reach their members, explaining what we want to do as a call to action, as really a movement to really create tangible changes. And we will also have during the annual general meeting, which is basically the board members and the CEOs, we will have 5 minutes to present the Unlock Futures and the child protection idea that will, as I mentioned, will end up in the action paper. So in those 5 minutes, Chantal Query as well will be able to engage all the members and explain exactly what we will do, starting from a survey that together with ECPAT, the United Nations, and WTTC, we are putting together to make sure that we can capture the best practices. And we will be able to analyze this data and then, as I mentioned, publish them. In day 2, during the summit, we also have another moment when we can address the members in a more one-to-one way. So have moments when actually we can deep dive with members that also we know have good stories to tell. So to help us to really shape what good looks like. And another additional visibility is the fact that we will engage, we will ask all the members to join the movement to take a picture on stage as a commitment, as a call to action, as a moment when CEOs will actually say, yes, we want to do more, we are committing to do more. This action, with this action paper that, as I mentioned, will be published Q1 in 2026, will have a strong media campaign and advocacy campaign. And together with the Bissell Collection platforms, we are putting together a strong presence in different media globally to really address and reach as many people as possible. So with the help with ECPAT and the code and the top members, we really hope that we can create this global change and have a meaningful impact to really change the life of the child and the children that our industry we know can do too. So thank you very much, and I pass back to you, Gabriela.
Thanks so much, Alberto. And I think with the richness of examples and good practices from the code members, that's a great way to inform this action paper and the global movement. So we'll be sharing these good practices, the videos towards the global summit, so they inspire people globally. Okay, let's now turn to questions. So these can be questions to any of the panelists from the first and the second panel, and also to Alberto. And so if anybody would like to ask some clarifications, or if you'd like to share your good practice, please feel free also to do so. You can also share any of your, in the chat, please share any of your upcoming events that may be of interest to others. So we invite everybody. Also, if Lourdes Alvaro, okay, Lourdes, we would like to speak. Okay, let's allow. Sorry, I'm trying to allow as a speaker. Lourdes, could you introduce yourself? No, I don't see, and I don't hear. Questions can be asked also in the chat. Or also, if any of the panelists would like to explore more about what others share, or maybe add anything else to what you already shared, you're also welcome. Or if you have any questions to Alberto about the upcoming Global Summit and how the good practices can be part of it.
Maybe, Gabriela, I would give it a shot. I don't know if Durante, you would have an occasion to just share with us a little bit. It's so fascinating, the word of adaptation to the First Nations, the indigenous context. Could you give us an example of how you've done it and what does that mean so that it can inspire others to follow that trend?
Yeah, so the first few steps have been really integrating the community to feel like they have a channel to express the specific needs that they have. Because as we know, there are unique factors for human trafficking in Indigenous communities. Here in North America, that means, jurisdictional issues where if you're on tribal land, the state police can't come in. And perpetrators of trafficking know that specifically, so they target Native communities, knowing kind of the loopholes in American justice systems so that they can benefit from, where Native people are being neglected in those systems. And so a huge part is listening to the specific needs. For me, it's been, since I'm a member of a Native community myself, it's been looking at it from a microcosm and then expanding how can we scale this out. So far I've been doing a lot of grassroots ish events, specifically with the Seminole Tribe of Florida and the Miccosukee Tribe of Florida, whether that's a workshop, just a survey. The biggest thing we've done has been having the Medicine Wheel Riders, who are a group of people fighting the issue of missing and murdered Indigenous women, boys, girls, Two-Spirit people, who visited us out of North Dakota to come kind of share the tactics they have on addressing the issue. So to kind of, in a way, standardize the steps we've been going through, a lot of it is first having that, I guess, entry into a community, because we have to acknowledge these are communities that we're coming in. It's a border crossing of sorts. We've been really fortunate in the fact that, Hard Rock is owned by the tribe, and a lot of us working within the, operations are tribal members. So we already have that, intimate knowledge of how to connect with the community. But my advice for people who maybe are operating where there are Indigenous nations, Indigenous tribes and people, but don't have that immediate connection, is sort of figure out culturally what is the best way to enter the community and start that dialogue. That would just be my advice.
Thanks so much for that. I see there is a question in the chat. If any of the panelists would like to share how do they engage with schools and what's the way they engage and what kind of information they share with schools. And maybe we could also expand this question if any of you actually works also with tourism schools, because we have a recent experience of engaging with the schools, and it's a way of shaping new generation who will later build this sustainable development with child protection at the core if we do engage them during the education. So if any of the panelists would like to take on this question.
If I may, actually, in preparation of the WTTC conference and in our constant conversation with the president of ENIT, the Italian National Tourism Bureau, we were speaking exactly about this and how to engage, for example, universities on, and there we are trying with the President Alessandra Priante, we are trying really to engage in University of Rome or Milan as well to attend the WTTC summit and potentially also to have a conversation with ECPAT. As we mentioned, we are just trying because we believe it's absolutely relevant to start also from an educational perspective. So we hope that together with just a starting point, but together with the president of ENIT, we will be able to reach and engage universities. At least we were talking about universities specifically, economic or university with the tourism angle as well.
That's a great example.
And
Anybody else?
building on this, sorry, this is Chantal. And
Exactly.
building on this specific point, I know, Guillaume, you've been really focused on developing a strategy on how to rally those global hospitality institutions, schools, etc. Because if we're able to really make it core to their curriculum, you're really building the skills that are needed today, but also tomorrow. So I think that aspect of the tourism schools and all this is critical.
Thanks so much, Chantal. And indeed, we just shared in the chat a framework for tourism schools that can be used to incorporate this topic in curricula. So we also invite everybody to have a look at it, as it may be useful in the work with the schools and with tourism schools. Great. Durant also shared some more links.
Yes,
this
the social identifiers I mentioned. As of now, there have been over 1.2 million students in the United States that have used this. But really key to getting it into classrooms is making sure that, like, for example, we have guides for educators to use or for guardians and parents to use. Most of our education is focused on, grade age elementary to high school students. So just in terms of schools in that way, less so universities, it's making sure it's a lesson plan that can also be operated, independently, and that the tools are there for people to use it as a discussion. A great help for us for getting into schools and having that connection has been PACT and ECPAC Mexico. So also make sure to rely on your connections. If you have a great idea and you have the funding for it and the capacity to do it, there's so many amazing people out there with connections already that are willing to be like, oh yeah, this school right here might integrate it into their health class, or they've been looking for, a way to have a discussion about online safety, but didn't have a framework or tools for it. So a lot of it is just when you're creating these programs, thinking about how can this exist independently outside of just, us in this room using it as a tool. How can we create it so that it's like everlasting and can also be adapted?
Thank you. With this, we are coming to the close of this meeting, and it's a unique moment in the year when we are meeting to celebrate the top members of a given year, but also connecting with all the members of the code and civil society organizations and local code representatives. I will now hand over to Guillaume to close and conclude this meeting.
Thank you, Gabriela. And the word that comes to mind is really inspired. It's just really inspiring indeed to hear how it's already happening. So oftentimes in the sector, we're pushing for things to happen, but in that context, it's just to see how people are doing it their own way and how it's just possible. And the diversity of entry points, right? Bespoke Colombia, showing, you can be small, but you can do big things, and people being impressed in the leadership that they've been able to make change, even though it's localized and it's not one of the largest company in Colombia. So that's a powerful example to show that it's not a question of size, it's a question of commitment. Alma, Drim, you showed as well the perspective of integral transversal. How do you work across and you engage engage with a diversity of actors. So it's great to see the bold step of integrating fighting sexual exploitation in an array of child protection and other sort of subject matter to mobilize guests and staff and communities. So very inspiring there. From Natalie at Carson, we saw how you use the convening power globally to put the agenda, to bring people together, to make political commitment, to make the changes happen. So again, how do you utilize sometimes the advantageous position of being a leader into something that can bring people together and make change happen? With Sherilyn, we also saw that notion of, I like the word responsibility that you've put there, right? And how you've been leveraging social media, communication, so very creative way of connecting the guests as well as the staff and the partners all together to make things happen. So very modern, very inspiring way of just seemingly integrating this into the business model. Super interesting and inspiring. Durante, I asked you the question because it's so unique, it's so needed, it's so fantastic to see the necessity to care about sometimes population that we neglect and put the attention on the First Nations there, and the attention as well to engage with survivors and getting them to inspire us and help us to devise the solutions, making sure we're fit there. I liked also the cost efficiency that you put forward. It's not always about just put in a lot of money. It can be something that is just integrated and it's done in a way that makes sense and is part of the business rather than being something added up later on. And finally, I found as well the example in Dominican Republic with Mercedes, the joint action, looking at ways to work between the hotel, the taxi drivers, the informal economies, the guides. So how do you join forces with the people around your business model and to have joint training and actions? Again, very inspiring there. So just in those 6 companies, top members, we could see it's possible. It's been done already. I'm looking forward in Rome to see there are tens of thousands of companies in travel and tourism. There's so many more who could do it. And the fact that you're on that front line, it's a reason to celebrate, but it's also a reason to challenge others and make more of a difference there. So thank you for daring and to being with us. And I look forward to using with Bicester Collection and the World Travel and Tourism Council Summit the opportunity with the pledge to rally more leaders in the travel and tourism sector and making that a priority. If you or any representative of your companies will be in Rome for the event, let us know, because it'd be great to connect in person and bring even further visibility there, being creative and doing social media posting together and so forth. But count on us and ECPAT to continue the fight, and looking forward further engaging with you. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you for your leadership and thank you for inspiring us all. That was really inspirational and also touching what you shared, but at the same time very practical, and you showed how child protection can be positioned in due diligence process. So we are very much looking forward to staying in touch and then working throughout the year and seeing more top members next year in the event that we'll be planning. Thank you, everybody, and be in touch. Bye bye.